All right, my friends, we are live. Welcome back to another Dividend Happy Hour. As you can see, I'm joined here by my main man, Russ. And in tonight's live stream, we're going to be talking all things 3M, which is a pretty hot topic right now. But before we get into all of that, guys, once again, welcome to another live stream. I'm so stoked to see all of you guys here for another week. We got to kick it off with a cheers, as we always do. So real quick, guys, here's to the yield. Here's to the growth, and here's to that sweet, sweet cash flow. And also here's to you guys, and here's to Russ. Thank you for joining me tonight, man. I'm happy to have you aboard.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Real quick, guys, let me know in the live chat or in the comments below if you're watching the replay. A couple of things, and Russ, I want to know from you as well. Number one, what are you guys sipping on tonight for the Dividend Happy Hour? And number two, what did you pick up this week? Which stocks did you buy? Let me know there in the live chat and in the comments below. But Russ, what are you drinking tonight? Just a little water over there?
I've got that beautiful Lake Michigan water. Yes.
Nice, man. Nice.
Mostly because I was just running around getting ready and I completely forgot. We've been gone on vacation and stuff, and I think I got Aloha brand, right? It's from Hawaii, and then I have some High Life, but hey, that'll be later. I'll just drink in memory of this or something.
Yeah, man, that sounds good. What'd you buy this week?
Oh, buddy, I bought some more Nexstar Media. I bought some Vici Properties today. I bought more Realty Income, so hitting on some of those REITs there, and I bought some other stuff. I actually bought a micro cap company, $100 million micro cap, not a dividend stock, and I tend to like some of these plays. I mean, all the giant companies, right? At one time, all the mega cap companies at one time were micro cap startups. And it's a lot harder. And sometimes I like to think I'm smarter than I am. So grabbed one share of a company called SurgePays, ticker SURG. And we won't get into it because they don't pay a dividend, but they try and hook up low income people like at convenience stores with the internet and cell phones and things like that. So really interesting. They're growing. I've been looking at them for a minute. So I bought some of them, which is pretty rare. Just one share is like $7. And and we can talk about 3M too. But what about you? What did you buy? What are you doing?
Let's see. This week, man, kept it simple. I bought some more Williams Sonoma. I started that position a few weeks ago, so pretty much every single week, at least I would say for the next couple of months, for the next few months, I'll be dollar cost averaging into that. Just picking up one share a week, or sometimes two if I can afford it. And then I actually added a little bit more KRC as well. I just picked up one more share of that, and I know.
It's your Brokeback Mountain stock. You can't quit KRC.
No, man. But yeah, I've now just over 70 shares of that, and I think I'm going to get my position up to an even 100, and and then just kind of take a break and chill on that for a little bit. So, but yeah, man, pretty basic, nothing crazy over here. But also, I didn't get to share what I'm drinking with you guys. This is pretty cool. It's a Trader Joe's lime margarita, and this is my first time trying it. My lady picked it up from the store. And you guys have seen me drink cut waters on here, I think. It's kind of like a cut water, but it tastes more just like a Sprite with a little bit of, maybe even like Squirt, the soda Squirt. That with some tequila in it, but it's really good. Really delicious.
All right. I thought you were drinking a new AHA flavor or something.
It kind of looks like it because of the can, huh?
It did. I thought it was AHA, but I think it's split 50-50. So, hey, it's is anybody out there going to try that Pepsi Cola ketchup? We got coming out, the Cola Chup. I think it's just for the 4th of July at like 4 ballparks. I don't think they're going to sell it in stores, but it's more of a marketing gimmick out there.
Yeah.
And
hey, they're not going to sell it in stores?
I don't think so. I think it's just for Independence Day. But yeah, speaking of that, one thing that's interesting is the WHO. I don't know if you guys caught it, but one of the artificial sweeteners that's been really popular for a long time is aspartame, and
aspartame.
The WHO. How do you say it? Aspartame. We say aspartame.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Aspartame. We can fight about it, but dude, you threw me off.
Sorry, man. My bad. My bad.
Anyway, yeah, the WHO. They said they're gonna label it a carcinogen, cancer causing. and that's in Diet Coke, but PepsiCo pulled it out of Diet Pepsi in 2020. So could be interesting. A lot of people might think that's going to be negative. I know you're going to have the soda companies are going to push back on that. But anyway, just thought I would say that's a little interesting that Diet Pepsi doesn't have the aspartame in it. But yeah,
There,
little.
people have been, and maybe rightfully so, people have been just basically thinking that aspartame's not good for you for years now. So I don't know how much of a surprise this news was to a lot of people. But like you said, I read something that the soda companies are already pushing back on it, which makes sense that they would want to do that. So,
Well, the
but
sun causes cancer too, and without it, we die. So I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
everything in moderation,
everything in moderation. Yeah,
including
exactly,
moderation.
man. Yeah. But anyway, before we get into 3M, Russ, I want to go through and just put some of these purchases and stuff on the screen.
Yeah,
Let's start
get to
here
the
with
people.
Chuck. Let's start here with Chuck, who picked up some realty income like yourself and a little bit of SCHD. What do you do with SCHD? Do you buy it every week
I
or?
I do remember buying that. I bought some of it this week, and I want to say 2 shares, but yeah, it's in my Roth IRA.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been pretty much buying it in the low 70s. And it's funny how we get price anchored, right? I don't know if this happens to you guys, but I was comfortable buying it at like 75, $76 when I started, building it out. And then it gets into the high 60s and now it's at 72. And I'm like, it feels a little expensive. And I'm like, but I was just buying it at 75, 76. So let's just go buy more of it. But
Yeah.
yes, I did buy more SCHD at 72.35. So what'd you guys buy it at, Chuck?
Yeah. Moving it on, Big
Yeah.
E had a nice little shopping spree here. A little Snap-on, some Caterpillar, Philip Morris, Toronto Dominion,
TD.
and then
Gold, Goldman
GS,
Sachs.
Goldman Sachs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost said General Mills. Let's see.
G that's Jizz. GIS.
Yeah,
Get it, don't forget
Varfalvi
it.
picked up some Starbucks. I don't know what FIS is, but then some Bristol
Oh,
Myers Squibb. Do you know that one?
no, I wanted to say Fiserv, but I don't remember it. I don't remember it.
Mr. Zack Attack with some TSCO is Tractor Supply,
Tractor
Prudential,
Supply. Yep.
BST, and then CCI. So nice little shopping spree there. Mike and Mel picked up some USB and SCHD. My man Luis, little NEP, just finalized my monthly close analysis for a record month with over $700 in dividends. Wow, man. Congratulations. That's a
Congratulations.
nice record. I actually forgot to ask that too. You guys, if you have any milestones, any new records in your portfolio, put them there in the live chat or in the comments below. I'd love to put those up on the screen real quick and give you guys some shout outs for that. Chris here picked up some UNH and Starbucks, both great pickups. Some other $1,000 into some more things. Let's see here. Let's keep going. I'm going to skip a few of these. I apologize, guys. Wing Addiction, SHD, AbbVie. Realty Income was a popular one this week. No surprise. Because I think they're still sitting under 60, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and Bing Bong also with some Realty Income.
That reminds me of the Jerky Boys.
Dang, Mike and Mel picked up 75 shares of Vici this week. That's pretty wild. That's a nice pickup. Dominique with some Main Street Capital Corporation. Love to see that on a little dip. Chris, some more Realty Income. That was a very popular one this week. He also picked up some, SCHD, but he also picked up some 3M. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's wild to think about. For every bear, there's going to be a bull. It's so interesting how we can look at these same companies with the same information and have different thoughts on it, different perspectives on it.
Absolutely.
Eli here, some SCHD, DGRO, Kroger Discovery, Williams Sonoma, and shout out Russ here, some Nexstar Media. I've
Nice.
actually been seeing more people talk about Nexstar in the comments, in Seeking Alpha comments as well. I've seen more people mention that company. I think that you're spreading the good word.
I'm a big fan, man. It's just going off the numbers, going with management. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. All we have is the information now and what it looks like the business, what the management is trying to do, and where they're trying to steer the company. And I just Perry Sook, the CEO, man, he's the founder, and the dude has a vision, and he's always trying to build it and grow it, and just solidify and cement their foot into that digital media space. So plus, and it's a little bit of where I'm from too, but they had acquired Tribune Media, and one of the assets they got was WGN Radio here in Chicago. So I always, whenever I have that on, I always hear them when they go to commercials say Next Star Media Group station. And then the commercials play. And the cool thing is when I'm hearing 1-800 Cars for Kids and I'm hearing about the lawn guy cutting that stuff, they're all paying money to advertise. So that's, I'm getting little bits of that. So it's kind of cool. I like
Is
it.
the Tribune, is that the big Chicago newspaper? Isn't there one, the Chicago Tribune?
The Trib and then the Sun Times. Although it's
Okay.
weird, I don't see people with newspapers hardly anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, for whatever, the gray ladies they call them. Those were the two
Yeah.
two of the big ones.
Anyway, moving on. I'm skipping a handful of these comments because I want to get into 3M. I apologize, guys. But Zal said his portfolio hit an all-time high today. Only another 133K for his goal. Lucas also had a pretty nice milestone here. Just hit $600 annually, so averaging $50 per month. Love to see that. El Dynamico just passed $350 in dividends. Good for you,
Beautiful.
my friend. That's really nice. And I think, okay, here's one more milestone, and then we're going to get into 3M. And we're going to kick it off with a comment from John here. So last milestone, Rex reached $50,000 total invested. Rex, good job, man. That's fantastic. That's a huge milestone. I just hit that one in my portfolio as well, and it feels really cool. We're halfway to six figures, man. Keep up the good work. But getting into 3M, John here says, and just for those of you who are just kind of now hopping in the stream, we're talking about 3M. We're going to talk about a little bit what's going on, what we're going to do with the company, because Russ and I are both shareholders. But it seems like we have a bull here. John, in defense of 3M, says, does 3M have a competitor? No. But, does that necessarily mean that they're going to be a company worth holding on to with everything that's currently going on? I don't know. Once again, we can all look at the same information, have completely different perspectives. But Russ, what is yours? What do you think about 3M right now? What are your thoughts on the litigation? They just announced, actually, let me put this on the screen. They just announced within the last week or so, they settled for about $10.3 billion in their Forever Chemicals lawsuit. But from my understanding, this is only like one of the outstanding litigations. There's still a lot more that are pending. But what do you think about all this stuff?
Yeah, so the earplugs is the big one that everybody, Aero earplugs, that's the one that everybody's going to focus on with, and we just don't know how high that's going to go with the litigation settlement. And, to start it all off, there's so much uncertainty. And for those of you that are new, always know that the stock market hates uncertainty. So anytime that the market can get some clarity, whether it's a company or just something macro, then it'll respond accordingly. But it's just when things are uncertain can be some of the best times to buy. But we just don't know what's going to happen. And the scary part is that 3M doesn't know what's going to happen. And when you're facing such a massive lawsuit, could be one of the biggest in history, 3M just does not know what's going to happen. And it's something that they don't control. So as an investor, man, that has made me really nervous and really rethinking my position in 3M, what's going to happen with them. So do you get that same feeling, everybody watching? Ryan, I mean, do you get the feeling that, it's kind of scary knowing that management has no control over the outcome of the lawsuits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that definitely concerns me as a shareholder as well. There's the litigation risk here is huge, and we could maybe point to some other companies that have a certain amount of litigation risk right now. Like Johnson & Johnson is another name that comes to mind, but the risk with 3M seems to be much more detrimental for this company than Johnson & Johnson's does with them. I'm much more concerned about the litigation with what's going on with 3M. And it has me questioning if it's something I want to continue holding on to, especially considering a couple things. Number one, that there is so much uncertainty. Even with this one settlement, there's still much more litigation to be figured out. It definitely calls into question the security of the dividend, or the safety of the dividend rather. And this is also something that's probably going to be dragged on for a number of years, and it's got me thinking, I don't know if I want to wait around to see how this one plays out. I'm taking quite a big loss on this one right now, and I'm almost wondering if it might be worth just maybe doing a little tax loss harvesting and reinvesting into something with that doesn't have this litigation risk. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
And that's the great point. If you do hold 3M in a taxable account, you do have the option to tax loss harvest. But if you hold them in a retirement account, like I do, no tax loss harvesting there. So, that's something we could talk about another time is would it be better to hold, if you are going to hold ETFs, to hold ETFs inside of your tax advantaged accounts because you can't tax loss harvest. But if we get to the thing as we're all passive income investors, we're all dividend investors, and what we want to know is that dividend going to be cut. And again, we just don't know. A couple of things that are interesting, some moving pieces, is that, sorry, as my family's getting ready to go on a bike ride. You guys, everybody's just disturbing me tonight. I love it. No. So what I was going to say is,
do they have their helmets, Russ?
No, we don't wear helmets when we ride bikes. That's probably bad, right? That's probably, I hear if you get into it, like if anyway, we should. That's a bad risk management strategy. But speaking of risk management and getting back to 3M, they are going to be spinning off their healthcare assets into a new company. And this should take place by the end of this year is what they project. It's about $10 billion from what I understand in revenue that's going to be going out the door with it. So I'm wondering if they're going to use this as cover to reduce the dividend. We don't know if that new entity is going to pay a dividend or not, but I have a feeling they're going to do like AT&T, and they're going to say, look, we're losing $10 billion in revenue. So that's going to impact our cash flow. So we're going to have to reduce the dividend. And we don't know, again, if the new entity is going to pay a dividend or not. But I think they're going to kind of use that as a little bit of cover to reduce it. But I mean, at the end,
Russ, by the new entity, you mean the healthcare company being spun off, right?
Correct. And
Okay,
I believe 20% stake is what new 3M, they call it, is going to have a ownership position in. So it's going to be a real interesting thing to watch what they do with that. Some of the things I don't like is they've just given token raises. They've given I was going to do 3 years. You see, I was like, they've given a 1 cent raise, but they've given a 1 cent raise the past 3 years. So token raises tells me that they're not terribly confident in giving out any more money than they have to, because they're probably trying to squirrel away a lot for the lawsuits. And revenues have been shrinking. The margins have been compressing. Sales, their total sales over the last 10 years, there's a 10-year CAGR of 2.40, so 2.5% 10-year CAGR of their total sales. I mean, that's just flattish like a radish, we say around here. And you know what I mean? It's just, I ended up selling. I mean, I'll get to it, but I guess the positive is that their net debt is like, it's under 50%. That's good. But for me, I sold out. I tax loss harvested in the taxable. I did that a while ago. And then I still hold them outright, 3M, in the self-directed IRA and the Roth. And I today sold my 10 shares, which I was down about 35% on. And I sold those at $100. So the yield on cost, I think, was like 3.5% from where I was at, and real easy. So I just bought a 5 more shares of Realty Income, and then I think I bought 4 more shares of Vici. I'm going to see what happens next week. Maybe we get some negative news in the market, get some better deals. But I'm really liking buying Realty Income under $60 a share. So to wrap this long-winded diatribe up, I think that I feel more certain about Realty Income and Vici and their long-term prospects paying a bit of a higher yield than my yield on cost was where I sold 3M. And I kind of felt good about it. That was the surprising thing. After I sold it, I felt a little almost guiltily good. That's not really a word about moving on from 3M because we're hoping that everything turns out okay, and we're hoping that they don't have to cut the dividend. And I don't know about you, but hope doesn't really feel like too good of a strategy, you know?
Yeah, and it seems to me I have to do some more research into it, but it seems to me a dividend reduction is going to be more certain once they spin off the healthcare company. I don't know if they would be able to sustain it at current levels once they spin off and lose that revenue and those earnings from the healthcare company. I don't know
That'd
what
be
that's going to
tough.
look like. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
tough.
and I was looking at it earlier today, just based on Seeking Alpha's, just based on the financial statements on Seeking Alpha, which may or may not be 100% correct. Hopefully they are. They should be. Um, their average free cash flow payout ratio across the last like 5 years, I crunched it, was maybe about 70, between 70 and 75%, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
In there, so it was on the higher end. But in terms of dollars, from what I remember, there was like a less than $1 billion spread between their levered free cash flow and the common dividends paid every single year. And if this lawsuit, if this one settlement, $10 billion paid out, however, I think it's over the next 10 years, the next 12 years or something along those lines. That's about $1 billion per year right there. So that's going to put it, that in itself is going to put it pretty close to being over a 100% free cash flow payout ratio. So that, and I may have that a little bit not correct, but yeah, that does concern me. So I don't
Well,
know.
either way, the lawsuits, there's going to
Yeah,
be billions of dollars of payout, and that's going to put
right.
stress on the company and on their dividend, and it just has to.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'd love to. I haven't really watched a lot of your guys' comments here about what you've been saying, but we really do want to know what you guys think, what you guys have been
Yeah.
doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I see there are some comments. I'm going to try and scroll up a little bit to see what you guys have to say. What you guys have to say about it. Sorry if it takes me a minute to put some of these on the screen. And if I missed your comments as I'm scrolling up, please drop them again in the live chat, 'cause I want to see what you guys have to say. So let's start with oh boy. Let's start here with Will. Will says, I look at it like if 3M is a good company with good leadership, they should weather the storm. I think we could even call into question the leadership. A lot of people have had issues with 3M's management over the last however long now. And the lack of growth in the company. They're a really big company, so growth is going to be a little bit tougher to come by. But even so, I know a lot of people are not happy with current management.
Hey,
Let's
one
see.
word on management that you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
might find interesting is that um, I was looking at the insider transactions, and on Alpha Spread, going back, I think they go back about 20 some years, there has been 206 sells and only six purchases by insiders. And weirdly, uh, Mike Roman, the CEO, the last 3 years in a row, the first week of May, he's sold a bunch of stocks. I don't know what that's all about. I think it's a little strange that it's the first week of each May, the last 3 years in a row. But yeah, just the inside. I mean, 3M hasn't been this cheap in a long time, and I always think that if you're in the company, if you're like the CEO or the chief financial officer, and the stock is down and you're confident in it, like why wouldn't you just be buying the company that you are on the inside of? Which is why we use that as a gauge. So, um, it's not an automatic deal breaker, but it just seems strange. And when I look at a company like Ares Capital, who I actually bought a few shares of this week, their insiders are always buying and they're holding. Same thing with Vici. I believe it was Vici that has never had an insider sell in the history of the company. Granted, it's a newer company, but still, that's cool that they've only had buys and nobody has ever sold on the inside. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Zal here says, I've never had a strong conviction in 3M. As long as I paid attention, it's been a conglomerate dinosaur, but now it has legitimate risks on top of the negligible growth.
Yep.
I know back in the day when 3M, I think, was one of the first companies I bought. And
You too.
yeah, man. And I that probably I don't quite remember, but I'm sure it was one of those things where I was watched some YouTube videos on it and saw, oh, they have Post-it, oh, they've got Scotch tape, oh, they've got command strips, which I used all the time. Yeah, seems cool to me. 65 years of dividend growth. What could go wrong? I'm sure that was probably like the extent to which I researched the company before buying it.
I'll tell you why I bought it. I remember exactly why I bought it. It's because Ian Lopik bought it. And I remember watching a video driving home from work, and he had bought them over he's like 210 or over $200 a share he was buying them. So
Yeah,
I was like,
he
hey,
just
this guy knows his stuff. So I'm going to buy two.
this is Ian's fault, man.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, in the Navy, that's what we used to say is you just blame somebody else. Never accept the blame.
Nice, man. What else was I gonna? I don't think I was gonna say anything. I think I was just gonna put this new comment. So, Varfalvi, sorry if I mispronounced that. In my opinion, they have a note. Really, in the industry, in zillions of places, too big to fail. Somehow it will be managed. For me, it's a hold, not buying anything new currently. So that's actually a good point. So I was telling Russ before we went live, I was listening to this podcast on Seeking Alpha. What do they call it? It actually, I think, guys, it's one worth listening to. This podcast series. It's called Investing Experts. I don't know if it'll focus on that, but you can see
there
it
you
like
go.
looks like that. It's called Investing Experts, and basically they've got each episode is a different company they're talking about, and they put a bull for the company against the bear of the company. They each state their case, and it's kind of just like a debate back and forth. But that was one of the things the bull case said was that their products are so important that it would be detrimental to the entire international economy if 3M went out of business. But the thing is, like, even if they were to declare bankruptcy, it would be a strategic bankruptcy. It's not like those products would cease to exist. It's not like they would completely go out of business. It would be used for restructuring. So the things that we use that a lot of people rely on 3M for would likely still be in place unless there were just certain things they cut out. But it's not like the business would go away. It would still be intact. All of the employees in the divisions that are still intact would still have their jobs. Things should still be functioning as before. It's just they are financially, restructuring things. And the thing that would be impacted, or the people that would be most impacted, would probably be us shareholders. The dividend probably wouldn't be there. No more share buybacks, things like that. So even though people say they may be too big to fail, maybe so. It's an important company, but they wouldn't go away completely. It's just the reasons that we would want to own the company would no longer be there.
The shareholders would get screwed. The current shareholders would be the ones that get nothing. And like you said, I mean, it's a good analogy. Like the debtors, the common stock shareholders are at the very bottom, and usually there's nothing left for the common stock shareholders. So, yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I could see it, depending on how bad the litigation gets. I could see a lawsuit I could see them reducing the dividend for a while. And Dominique actually just shared how GE, after 119 years, slashed their dividend to a penny, and now the stock's up 60%. I think they're one of the better performing stocks in the market. Yeah, so we don't. But this is the fun part too. I think this is fun. We don't know what's going to happen, and we all make educated guesses with the information that we have. And I always say you make the information with the information you have. You make a choice what you feel is right. And no matter how it turns out, you can't beat yourself up too bad as long as you think you're making the best decision with the information you have. So, yeah.
I know one thing that gets me is what do they call it? The sunk cost fallacy. Are you familiar with that?
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Have you fallen victim to the sunk cost fallacy?
I have. Well, Neo's one of them. A lot of stocks I was swing trading, and probably even on 3M. I'd say I've experienced it. So I added when it got down to like 99 the first time around, because I'd been telling people I'd more than likely buy some under 100, and I think I added 3 shares in the Roth, and that's pretty much it. I think I'm just going to hold those and just no matter what happens, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to touch them for 5 years. And, but see, that's the plan. Like you got to have a plan. I've already earmarked that saying, you know, I'm just going to see what happens with this and, let it
Yeah.
ride.
So, going back to your 3M transaction that you just did. So, because your yield on cost was like 3.5% or so, when you
Hmm.
reinvested into Realty Income and Vici, that would have raised your overall annual dividend income, right?
Exactly. But yeah, so I got a few more percentage points of yield coming my way from that, but obviously it's not going to make up right away for the 35% loss I took from
Yeah.
not factoring in the dividends received. But there's a saying, and it's funny. This is something I've had to learn too, is that you don't have to make your money back the same way that you lost it, and this is one of the ways I'm going to look at that. And while 3M may be down, I can't tax loss harvest, but if I don't have full conviction in that company. And they also say that even if you're buying one share, you should look at it as if you're buying the entire company. How would you feel buying the whole company right now? And not very good. So that's kind of what some of the thought that I applied when I sold today. And like I said, I have 14 shares in the Roth, nothing crazy. And I might eventually add one more just to get it to 15. But yeah, that's the last, man. That's the last of my individual 3M holdings. So it's crazy. When I first started buying, I never would have expected this. Ian Lopik and myself, we both thought this was, one of those companies. You just buy it, forget it. They're going to be big and bold and beautiful forever. So, you know, makes it interesting.
Yeah, man. It really does. I mean, like I've said a couple times, it's so this live chat confirms it. It's just so interesting to see how we take in all this information and process all the same information. That, like you said a few minutes ago, that's the fun thing about investing is and building your own portfolio really with these individual companies is it's kind of a reflection of what you think about the world and what direction you think it's heading in. It's one of the fun things about investing. One of the one of the things that makes it challenging too.
So that would be, I don't know, is that sunk cost or is that price anchoring in the opposite direction when so the shares I sold today, the 10 shares, they had a cost basis of 155 and change. So in my mind, I think like, well, it was at 155 once. It should be getting back there eventually, even if it takes 5 or 6 years. But
Mm.
again, that's a fallacy in and of itself that you look at what something was and you think it'll go back there one day.
Well, it's exactly what you said a few moments ago. You don't have to make that money back the same way you lost it. And, maybe it'll happen in that time period, maybe it won't, but you could try your hand at some other company. Like, dude, you could put it in Apple, which seems to be doing nothing but going up, and maybe you'll make that money back in a couple of months. Who knows?
Interesting. I see a couple Ian Kim man. Sorry for all the you said left comments while we've just been jabberjawing, but yeah, he said he doesn't see Ian do fundamental analysis. Yeah, I don't know. I'd push back a little bit on that. I think he's actually toned it down. I think in the past he would do too much. If you've seen his spreadsheets he would put together, like back in the day, I know when I was learning, a lot of it was over my head. So I think he's just toned it down. I'm pretty sure he knows what he's doing. But yeah,
Yeah, I
interesting
think
comment.
I think on that note, it's important to keep in mind too when you see people like Ian or Russ or myself or anyone else talking about any sort of company here on YouTube that there's a good chance that that's only a small percentage of the actual research being done into a company. What we typically show you is not the whole kit and caboodle. That's why we say you shouldn't just watch these videos and use that as your entire thesis for investing or passing on a certain company. That's why we always say you've got to do your own due diligence because we might show you some of the surface level things like the forward PE ratio or the dividend stats real quick or how they're growing in revenue, but that's just the what. That's just the what with these companies. What is the price? What is the PE ratio? What is this, that, or the other? You need to dig a bit deeper to find out the why. And it's the why that's going to tell you. And Russ, you might know, this might sound familiar to you. This is directly from non-consensus investing.
Yeah.
you have to get to the root of the why. Why is the revenue growing? Why why has the share price gone down 50% in the last 5 years? Why are these things happening? And you use the why to come to your conclusions. And sometimes we show you a little bit of that in these videos, but oftentimes it's just the what. A lot of the times this is just a starting point for your research. A lot of this is just to give you ideas on things to maybe pursue further.
Yeah, 110%, man. And it's again, I mean, we could steal from Peter Lynch, know what you own and why you own it. I mean, it's just you have to know why you own something because otherwise you're going to be borrowing conviction from other people. And that's the thing, man, is just if the whole market is selling a business and you don't know why they're selling it or why you invested in it, you should only sell when your thesis for investing changed. And yeah, for us, I mean, for me, 100% with 3M, it changed because of all the litigation. But, I'll use Nexstar Media. I think a lot of the market thinks that they're a melting ice cube, that they're just old school like TV stations, but they're just so much more than that with the streaming rights, all the CW. They just have all these assets that they're growing and leveraging and moving into new spaces, trying to bring pro sports to a lot of the network televisions, and then that'll bring in more ad revenue. That's one of Perry Sook's things. He says when he started in the business that I know around here, a lot of like the baseball games, they're like pro sports was always on network television. And like you said, it's starting to kind of shift back that way. They got to deal with the LA Clippers to run some games on the CW. So like he says, what's old is new again. That's just one little thing. But yeah, so it's really cool that, and this is what I love. And if you don't love this stuff, then just buy ETFs. Not a thing wrong with that. And I actually, I don't know if you can probably agree with this, but some of the shifting that's really changed in my investing style is I'm trying to look for companies that I have really high conviction in, and I feel I understand very well. And then everything else, I would just like to dump into like JEPI or SCHD or into some ETFs. So I think I could see myself reaching a point where I have like SCHD is a massive holding. And then I have like 6 or 7 or 8 companies that I feel I understand really well that I invest in. So I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah. No, that totally does, man. And I think that really does give you the best of both worlds. That really does. And I would say that I'm sort of taking steps in that direction as well, by accident or not. Like every single week I'm adding to SCHD. And it's a matter of time before that inherently becomes the largest position in my portfolio. And so just because of that, at some point my portfolio is going to be shifting from more individual stocks to like a greater allocation of ETFs with still, having my individual stocks. I'm fine with that. I'm still having fun picking individual stocks. I feel good dumping a ton of money in SCHD every week. Not a ton of money, but I feel good dollar cost averaging into that and VU and having kind of that, I guess you'd call it a safety net. It does feel pretty good. And I'm kind of with you, man. It's, the longer I'm in this and the more that I do this, the more that I kind of just want to keep it simple, especially with the companies that I'm looking at. That's why I'm just starting to gravitate towards things like Williams Sonoma. It's something that to me is so much easier to wrap my head around than like Reliance Steel, which is another company I had on my watch list for a short period of time. What am I going to do? Am I going to learn the whole steel industry from scratch? I don't think so. I don't have an interest in doing that, to be honest with you. So just keep it simple.
So here's one. In my self-directed IRA, I started buying this company right when the pandemic hit. General Dynamics. Okay. General Dynamics, I'm up 50% on General Dynamics, right? So the thing though that I'm thinking about is if I see realty income drop a lot or something else pops up, I may just sell those 10 shares and move it into something else. But the point I wanted to make is with General Dynamics, I looked at like they had Gulfstream and a few of their products, but I honestly, it's probably been 2 years since I've looked at anything with them. They just go up. They keep raising their dividend. I can't, and it's kind of embarrassing to say this, but I'm laying it out. I can't name the CEO. I can't name anybody in the C-suite. I barely know any of their products. I just know that they keep raising that dividend and they have government contracts. And do you know what I mean? It's just when I think of that, I kind of think like, what am I doing with that? It's kind of risky. Like, how would I know when something? I don't know. That's where I'm at. It feels embarrassing to say that, but there you go. This is. I don't know if any of you watching would admit to that, or if you would admit to any of these, but
Yeah,
I don't know anything
absolutely, man.
about them. You know?
But it's that's the interesting thing too, because on one hand, you look at that one company and you're like, I have no idea what's going on with them. But then on the other hand, they're doing fine. Like they're performing well. I'm getting more income. So, there's not much of a harm in holding on to it. One company that I feel that way about actually in my own portfolio is Southern Company. It's not a big
Ah,
position at all. No idea what's going on with Southern Company. It's one that I don't keep tabs on whatsoever, but it's paying a nice dividend. My position's, it's appreciating pretty decently. And I'm like, I've kind of thought about solding it and locking in some gains, but at the same time, it's doing pretty well. I just don't know why I would. I don't know. It's tough.
I'm looking at Dominique. I'm trying to respond to some of these people. These
Okay.
these people.
Let's
She
put some
said
of
she
these on
worked
the
in
screen.
aerospace. Yeah, go through it. Let's talk with some of these people. It's too
Yeah,
much. Just gonna be
so
boring. Just you and I chit chatting away.
I'm having fun
Crying
chatting
out
with you,
loud.
man. Okay, so Dominique here. Okay, love aerospace stocks. I worked in that industry for a long time. That what you're talking
So
about?
so hold General Dynamics. She's telling me. Gotcha.
This is a good one. Caleb wants to know what's your opinion on innovative industrial properties. This was a company, is or was a company that you have in your portfolio or did at one time, I
I
believe.
still have them. I got 40 shares strong in the Roth IRA, and I'm holding them. I'm gonna be stubborn on this one. I would. So put it this way, I think my cost basis is like 104, maybe just over $100 on 40 shares. But they're a company that I listen to their earnings calls. They're really well run. They, had a few issues with tenants, but from what I understand, they're able to fill those spaces right back in. And they don't have really, they have a strong balance sheet. It's just the industry. It's just the industry. If marijuana, man, it was all the rage back 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 of what 2018 or so. But if we get legalization, a lot of people think it'll hurt them, but I think the opposite could happen, that a lot of banks will know that they're an established operator and they know what they're doing. And that's been one of the bugaboos, is that the banking industry isn't really loaning money to a lot of the cannabis operators, just because it's a gray area. They don't know the legality around it. So there you go. There's more uncertainty. And if banks see uncertainty with something, probably not going to loan to them. But anyway, so with IIPR, I'm holding for at least $100, and yeah, a lot big yield, dude, 10% ish yield on that right now. But yeah, well run company. Just again, it's kind of the opposite of 3M. There's a lot of things out of their control, like
Industry
legalization,
risk, man.
and
Industry
yeah,
risk, big
and
time.
if people shifting demand and more, so it's just industry risk. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I like them.
So yeah. Here in Vegas, man, advertisements for different there's so many dispensaries here in Vegas, and there are so many advertisements for them too, all over the place. Pretty much every billboard, it seems like, if you're driving on the freeway, is like a dispensary advertisement. It's as I'm sure it's probably not much of a surprise, but it's a really common thing here. They actually just there was a new hotel that opened up off the strip that is like a weed friendly hotel, so you can
God.
yeah, so it's just I don't know, it's very interesting. There's a couple lounges too that are basically like bars but for weed, and it's so interesting. I don't know. Okay, let's keep going through these comments. Nah, I don't. Let me see. Okay. Anthony says, did you guys hear that TTFC, which is Tattooed Chef, is going to file bankruptcy? Did you
No,
hear
I
that?
didn't. I did
Yeah,
not. Oh,
I
I
didn't
do
hear that either.
remember though. Uh, what's his name? Jeremy? No. Yeah,
Hmm.
financial
Yeah,
education, right?
yeah.
Dude, I I remember I never invested, but I watched a couple of his videos and being on the other end, I remember I was like, I should be buying some Tattooed Chef. Like he's
Yeah,
making some really good points here.
seriously.
Thank God I stayed away.
I did that. I used to watch him pretty heavily. Sometimes I'll still watch some of his videos, depending on what it is. Um, I bet he seems like a good guy to have a beer with. To be honest, he seems like a fun
Yeah.
guy. But yeah, I remember I I took some of his investing advice. I bought things like Beyond Meat. I bought, oh gosh, what were some other ones? Dropbox was another one I got from him. Luckily emerged unscathed from both of those, but man, YouTube can be a good place and it can be a bad place for investors. It just depends what you do with the information you see. Julius is not a fan of Jeremy. He says he's not a nice guy. I don't know.
Tell
I
us how
think
you
he's,
really feel.
yeah, I don't know. I'd get a beer with him. I'd get a margarita with him. Oh, this is interesting actually. I did hear this from
Yep.
a couple different places. I actually found saw it on Squawk on the Street this morning. Did you hear about Blackstone looking to sell 50% of their stake in the Bellagio? I'm sure Vici is interested. Yeah, that'd be very interesting. I think when they bought it for maybe like just over $4 billion. So I don't know what they'd be trying to sell it for, but Vici would be an obvious candidate to swoop that up. There were talks of Realty Income also being a potential candidate. I think they just bought the Encore in Boston Harbor
Boston.
fairly recently, right? So
Yeah.
they're kind of getting into the same space, probably taking a page out of Vici's playbook, just seeing how it's worked. But yeah, could be interesting, man. Could
Where
be
was that?
interesting.
Boston? I think you
Boston.
meant we all gotta do our Boston accents.
Is it Boston or is it
Oh,
Boston?
I
Boston.
don't know. I gotta watch Goodwill Hunting again
Yeah, it's the
and find
ba.
out.
It's the ah, not the
Yeah,
bois.
like Bahaba,
Yeah,
Boston.
exactly.
It's
Auditor
so
Dan.
weird having an
Oh.
accent. I'm glad I don't.
Sometimes, well, no, sometimes you'll do, just for fun, you'll do, what do you do? You'll do like the Milwaukee or the Wisconsin accent. You'll do,
Oh,
huh?
no, it's the Chicago
Oh,
accent.
Chicago. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Come on, we're gonna
Um,
go down to Wrigley. I can't even do it. See, when I try to do it, it's just I need to like let it. I just need to let it like flow and like channel the Blues Brothers. One, two,
moving on.
three.
Dan wants to know any new Williams Sonoma news. Not from what I've seen. Nothing really going on with them.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Now that actually some Supreme Court news, more of it today as they're ending their session and riling everybody up with the student loan repayment and the forgiveness was nixed. So I think that's going to hurt Target. I think that's why Target's been struggling. But swear I remember reading that Williams Sonoma has a lot of millennials that, or Gen, what I don't remember what the Jenners or whatever Gen X, Y, Z, whatever. But yeah, I was wondering, do you think there could be any impact to Williams Sonoma on all these people having to start repaying their college loans again?
I mean, probably so. As we head into a tighter economic environment, I think it makes sense that they'd be affected by it. But from a long term perspective, the reason I'm not entirely concerned about it is because their balance sheet is so strong. I think they can weather some tough economic times and come out of it just fine. They've got no debt, so I don't think they're at
I love that about them.
too much risk of going bankrupt anytime soon. Their revenue and earnings might crunch a little bit. The dividend growth might not be as substantial, but I think it's a pretty well run company. I think that, like I said, from a long term perspective, I think they'll be okay. So in the short term, it might get a little bumpy, but I still think it's a pretty well run company, and I'm happy to own it despite some short term headwinds.
Hey, they're one that I've been looking at. They always keep popping up on my screeners too.
Yeah. Is there a reason you haven't quite pulled the trigger on them yet?
I'm just focused on, I don't
Just
know,
other
not
things.
yes and no, not really. Maybe that's what I'll do. Then there you go. If they have a substantial fall, I might just sell. So I'm thinking General Dynamics, which I don't know. I'm not buying any more. That's why I'm saying I have those 10 shares. I've literally had those 10 shares since um, early, like late spring, early summer of 2020. We're going 3 years now. I haven't done anything. I just bought them right away, and there they are. Just pay me dividends.
Yeah.
So it could be worse. There's worse problems to have, like owning 3M over
Yeah.
150 bucks. But
Well, that's the good thing about dividends, man. You're getting paid to wait until you come to a conclusive decision.
look at this. We got Dean. He's in Wisconsin. Yeah,
Let me see that.
I don't know, Dean. Yeah, I hate our Dean. He's up there in
Oh, right
Wisconsin.
here.
Your
Um,
cheesehead peoples. Yeah,
and real
no.
quick, guys, we got about 10 minutes left in the dividend happy hour before we
Oh
jump
my
over
God.
to, yeah, man, time flies. Time flies. But about 10 minutes left in the stream before we jump over to the after party, which is going to be the Patreon exclusive live stream. If you guys want to check it out, it's a lot of fun. I'm going to do a nice little portfolio review tonight for my man Big E, who I think is still with us in here. But if you guys want to check it out, there's a link to the Patreon community in the description of this video. There's a free 7-day trial, so you can check it out for free. See if you like it. If not, no hard feelings. But I'd love to see you guys over there in the after party, which is going to be starting and right after this one ends, basically. So link in the description if you want to check that out. But real quick here, Zal says when you introduced yourself in that Kevin Burgess stream, he was geeking so hard.
I don't remember that. What did I do? How did I introduce myself?
I don't remember.
Hater. I don't. What did I do? I don't even know what I did, man. That's the fun part of when you sometimes just let your lunacy kind of fly. You don't remember what you did, like like on my podcast. I did last night. I was doing the. You guys might not know. Want to be starting something by Michael Jackson, but yeah, he would. Yeah, so I got people. I was trying to get the listener to say, "Mama say, Mama sa, Mamako sa," and just to say that over and over. And I was like, "So when I'm going to count to 3, and I want you to say," and then I wanted them to say it, and then I started singing, "Got to be starting something." Anyway. It's from my mind, and it seemed much funnier, but the hard Chicagoan accent.
Real quick,
Like the
Striper
Blues
says
Brothers.
nice guitar on the wall. Is that an actual Les Paul or is that an Epiphone?
No, it's a cheapie. It's an Epiphone. Those of you that don't know, Les Paul is really expensive by Gibson, and this is an Epiphone knockoff. So it is for people that don't want to pay all that, $3,000 for a Les Paul, like Slash plays, and this is close to it. So
I have one of those. I have an Epiphone Les Paul too. It's an orange sunburst Les Paul.
Oh, you have the Les Paul.
No, the Epiphone version. So I'm in the same boat as you
so
are.
you did, yeah, same as me.
Yeah, it's at my parents' house back in California though. I haven't touched it in years.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've just gotten so busy with things, and I play my acoustic every day though. I was playing it, 10 minutes a day every day.
Yeah.
But this thing, I gotta plug it in and
man.
get the amp.
Got it right
What brand? Let me see the headstock.
It's honestly I don't know. You'll have to tell me. But I got this guitar when I was probably
Signature
12.
series.
When I was probably like 12.
I don't know
I've had
what
it
that
ever
is.
since. But it's Samich, Samich.
Oh, I've heard of that.
So yeah, it's been Old Faithful, man. Old Faithful. I want to get a. I pretty much play my acoustic more or less every day too. I want to get a Telecaster, but I won't let myself do it unless I get serious about playing and actually really.
Dude, look
want
at
to
that.
develop the
Mariana
skill set,
has
so.
an 81 Les Paul Deluxe.
Wow.
God, look at that.
That's awesome. Luis says he had 2 Epiphone Les Pauls to buy a Telecaster. Nice.
Welcome
Nice,
everyone to Guitar Talk here on the
Yeah, seriously.
Dividend
Luis
Happy
and
Hour.
Paolo say play something. Nah, I'll tell you what. If you guys join the after party, if you guys are over there in the after party, I'll play a little something. But no, I won't waste everyone's time on here. But man, there was one other question I was gonna. Oh yeah, what are you reading right now? You reading anything good or listening to anything good? I know I say read, but I know you're an audiobook guy.
I'm reading this right
yeah.
now.
I've
Zen
heard
and the
really
Art of
good things
Motorcycle
about that.
Maintenance.
So that
Yep.
the correct me if I'm wrong, but the premise of that one is whatever you do, like do it um basically put your all into it. Is that kind of what the premise is, or what's it
Uh,
about?
so far it's just learning about values and knowing what you value, and
Mm.
just it's an interesting journey. It's hard to describe, but yeah, I'd say it's more like trying to know your values. Just I don't know if that's not doing it justice, but I'm like a quarter of the way into it. I've been slowly meandering my way through.
Does what Dominique said here, is this kind of it?
Do it with intention. What's that?
Talking about the book,
Oh, I guess
like
so.
the
Yeah, I
premise
would
of it.
agree with that. Dominique's been picking up a lot of the slack here, so I don't know if you'd go on Mr. Williams' channel. I'm sure he'd be happy to have you.
This is
But
um this is kind of what I'm rocking with. This is you recommended
yeah,
this one to me.
Rupal Bansali.
Yeah,
Yep.
I really enjoy it so far, and I've talked about it a couple times on the channel, guys. I highly recommend you pick this one up. It's been a really good read. It's been a really easy read, and it's been pretty insightful too, just in terms of investing and how to think about stocks and how to approach looking at stocks. Um, Another one that I just got. You might recognize this one, Russ. Guns, Germs, and
Yeah,
Steel. Hey, you've heard of this one?
yeah, it's been on my list. That was one of Munger's picks back in the day.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mission. It looks like a pretty thick book, but I'm
I'm gonna
excited to
read the
dive
audio
into it.
version of it when I'm sitting
I've
in
heard
traffic.
I've heard from a couple people. Who did I hear it recently from? I was listening to something, but they said this type of book wouldn't normally be what they would go for, but Charlie obviously said it's like a life changing read. So whoever it
I
was
know
said
what
they
you were.
started
You
reading
were.
it.
Yeah, you
Go
were
ahead.
listening to William Green on We Study
Yes,
Billionaires, talking with Stig
exactly,
Broderson.
exactly,
I just
exactly,
heard it
man.
now. Stig Broderson got that
Yeah.
Chicago accent going there now. Hey
um,
guys,
and Mariana and Richard both say this is a good book too. But yeah, I guess it was William that said once he started going through it, he's like couldn't put it down. It was surprisingly very good. Ray said it's a good book. It makes you think. Um,
Rex Randall said, "What's a good first book to start with?" C Spot Run.
what's a good first book to start with? I mean, if we're talking, you know what? I mean, dude, there's so many good books, but for investing or money in general, um, I'm actually going to give you three.
He's
Three.
given us three.
Okay, so First American, a Ben Franklin biography. Russ, you read this one as well.
I did. Yep.
Um, and I want to hear your picks too after this. Psychology of Money has been a very good read. I
That
was
was one
walking
of
out of
mine.
my apartment gym the other day, like by the pool area, and some guy was walking out of the gate. I held the gate open for him, and he had this book in his hand. And so I told him, I said, "Hey, nice book, man." And he was like, "Oh, you read it?" And I said, "Yeah, I finished it a few weeks ago. It was really good." And he said, "Yeah, man, I'm really sick of being broke. I'm really sick of not having money. So I just figured
Nice.
this would kind of whip me into shape." And I just told him, "That's awesome, man. Keep up the good work." So Psychology and Money, another one. And then this one too. Buffett, The Making of an American Capitalist. Russ, I know you read this one as well. I highly recommend this book. Really good book. Great biography.
So for me, if you want a really, really easy read, so my number one would probably be Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. But if you want something really easy and fun, I would do The Little Book That Beats the Market by Joel Greenblatt. Really enjoyed that. He's got three good books. That's right in there. Jeez. I got all those big meat hooks he's throwing at the screen. Um, yeah, I would say The Little Book That Beats the Market by Joel Greenblatt. And then just a classic. Some of it's a little outdated, but One Up on Wall Street by Peter
Mm,
Lynch is an easy read.
yeah.
And I mean, you and I could probably do the next hour just going just books back and forth.
Dude, it'd be fun
But
to start a book club at some point. Do something like that.
I I would love that. I'm
I don't
always
know how
reading
we'd
something.
I
Always
don't know how
reading.
we'd facilitate that, but that'd be
Uh,
fun.
Yeah, Zal, richest man in Babylon. That's
Great book.
probably the correct answer.
Yeah,
Now
that's a
that I
great
think
one.
about it.
I wouldn't start with The Intelligent Investor. It's a classic, but I would not. I definitely would not start with that one. Um,
But what
yeah,
does Buffett say? I think he says like chapter 8 and
eight.
20, I think. I know chapter 8. He was like, he almost saying, not saying, like chapter 8 and one other chapter are the most, kind of what you need, or that's what changed it for him.
A couple more books, not investing related, but someone mentioned 1984. So if you somewhat enjoyed that one, I'd recommend reading both of these Ayn Rand books, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. These are classics. They're a bit different.
Uh-oh. Look out. He's going to get some Dagny Taggart going.
Oh yeah, but yeah, Fountainhead, man. But or no, was that Atlas? That might have been Atlas
That
Shrugged. I
was
don't
Atlas
remember.
Shrugged. Yeah, she
Yeah,
was like the main chick.
right.
I think, right? Dagny Taggart, was it?
I'll tell you
It's
right
been a
now.
while, man.
No,
It's
dude, I
been a
think
good long while.
no. Oh yeah, it's because in Fountainhead it's Dominique Francon.
Yeah, no,
Um, but
it's
I've really enjoyed reading both of these books, and I definitely need to read them again soon. I honestly both of these books, I read both of these before I started my YouTube channel, and something about reading these after I went through them, I was like, I got to do something like this. I got to forge my own path. I got to do my thing. I got to do it my way. And so these books kind of, I don't know, really shaped my mindset in a pretty big way.
good ones.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, I think this. Sorry, I'm just reading some of these comments. A lot of good book suggestions out here. I think it's a pretty good place to wrap it up. But I want to put this comment up on the screen from Striper Kid, who says, next Friday I'll be recouping from surgery and I'll try to join on the live chat. I should be funny based on the dope they'll be feeding me. I wanted to just pull that up. And Striper Kid, good luck in your surgery next week. Hopefully it's nothing too serious.
Buena
And I
suerte.
look forward to seeing you next week. But once again, guys, I think this we'll call it a book. Call it a book here. We'll call it a night here. But thank you guys all for tuning in. I hope to see you in the after party. Once again, link in description. We'll be starting that here within the next 10 minutes. But Russ, man, thank you so much for coming on. It's always fun being able to do this, man.
Hey, no problem, man. Happy to be here.
No problem. Yeah, forget about it.
I think that's New York, the Bronx.
Yeah, it's New York. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
You sound like Rocky. You gotta watch Push It to the Limit.
I ain't punchy or nothing, but me and Polly the other day, we were just throwing some punches in the ring, and he said, "Hey, Polly," he said, "Yeah." I said, "Hey," I don't know. I lost it, but
Dude, you freaked me out. I was like, where did Ryan go? What the hell happened? We got a feed from Sly Stallone in here.
I ain't punchy or nothing, but I can throw a good punch or two.
But anyway, guys,
That's good, man.
I hope you guys all have a good night, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.